Mae'Govannen, and welcome to a new edition of the Gentle Musings of an Elven Scholar. Today I'm going to be posting probably one of the most important videos I will ever post, and it's on the laws or the levels of manifestation. I know it may sound like it's a really basic subject. We're going to get kind of deep in this one. The reason that I look at this one as being one of the most important ones I will ever do is because if you want to awaken who you are, if you want to help awaken the rest of the world, if you want to bring those resources into your life that you will need in order to accomplish these tasks, the task of also being able to help heal the world, you need to learn how to manifest. All right, and so that's what we're going to talk about today are the 4 laws of Elven Manifestation. A lot of this is going to be based on, I'm not sure if too many of you know about him, David Spangler. He's a wonderful man. He's one of the original founders of the Findhorn Garden. If you've not heard about that, I'll try to post a link to them so you can take a look, and we'll be talking about them here in a little bit. But anyway, he was one of the original ones that talked about, in fact, his book is The Laws of Manifestation, where he talks about the 4 levels of manifestation and what we can do to create the kind of life that we would like for ourselves, to bring it into reality and to help do it for others as well. All right, so we're going to talk about that today. It's going to get kind of deep and heavy here, but if you will really take to heart what I'm saying, you would be amazed at what changes can happen in your life. And I'm going to use myself as an example. So we're going to talk about what those laws are, what they're for, and what they can do for you. All right? Okay, let's talk about myself first. I learned about the laws of manifestation quite a long time ago. I needed to learn more about the world. I needed to learn more about basically being on a physical existence, what it meant to live in a physical existence. I had the great joy of living for years amongst a group of people that knew these laws, and having things appear in our lives was a pretty simple matter. It was almost every day something magical would happen to where we would see things manifest, and it was wonderful. But I came to a point to where I couldn't do that anymore, that I could not stay where it was easy. I had to leave. If I wanted to really learn to put those laws into practice, I had to leave. And so I did. There was a time a long time ago I lived in the forest, and I lived in the forest by myself. And it was a wonderful existence, but I knew there were things I had to learn. I knew there were things I had to do, and I could not do them there. I could not learn certain things about working with the world and working with others if I stayed in the forest by myself. So one day I made the decision to leave. I literally, with the clothes on my back, I had nothing else except for my understanding of the laws and the understanding of some facets of life. I literally that day, I walked out of the forest and I walked into a town. Okay, nothing else on me, no money, no car, no wallet. I had nothing. And by the end of the day, after I had left the forest, by the end of the day, I had a job and I had a place to stay. And so that was the beginning for me to learn to practice. It's great when you're amongst a wonderful group of people who practice these laws every day and make it very easy for you. But one of the most interesting things about living in life itself is that we are meant to be challenged. And if you live a life of no challenge, then you basically can live a life of not learning very much, and certainly not taking what you learn in the head and bring it to the heart. It takes experience to take it from here to here. So it was a grand experience for me to just walk out, and then I had a job, then I had a place to stay, and I went from there. And I built it up and built it up. It kept learning, kept exploring, kept experimenting. And so here we are today. By applying the laws of manifestation, I'm able to more closely live the life that I choose to live an elven life. As I've discussed in other videos, my wife and I and our 2 wolves, we live on 158 acres of land in the foothills of the mountains of Northern California. We are debt-free. We own everything outright. We have a beautiful well that produces an amazing amount of fresh, clear water. The sun powers our home with solar electric. We have so many gifts, and that was just a tiny portion of what we have here. And I know some of you may have watched my other video on our Elven Sanctuary. That was all brought about by applying the laws of manifestation. All right, so I'm not just some writer, some philosopher saying these are great things to believe in. I have lived these. Just like when I have a series of books out on natural health and taking care of yourself. They're all based on experience. I think it is one of the most valuable things is for us when we try to teach others is to teach through experience. And that, I don't know what else is more important than knowing that you've lived what you're talking about. I think I talked about in a previous video, there's an old story of John the Baptist when he was 10 years old. And his mentor had told him, John, when you're grown up, here's your destiny. You are going to be the voice in the wilderness. You're going to let the world know of the coming of the Messiah. And John, being 10 years old, was all full of piss and vinegar, and he was excited, and he was ready to go. He wanted to do it. He said, let's go. I want to go out and be that voice in the wilderness. And his mentor said, no, not yet. You've got some learning to do. You've got some experience to gain, and then you will. And John still was so excited and full of passion. He said, I want to go. I want to go. Point the way. Point the way. Okay, and that's when the mentor said, well, a block of wood can do just as good. A signpost can point the way. What people need to see is they can look down on the ground and they can see your footprints. And they went, he went that way. Because they need to know that somebody was able to do what they're talking about, that somebody was able to walk the walk, not just talk the talk, that it's possible, that it can be done. We see this a lot in the clinic that my wife and I run. We tell people you can be cured of these diseases. There is no, as Dr. Christopher said, there is no such thing as an incurable disease, only incurable people. After 20 odd years of practice, I have never seen a disease that cannot be cured if the patient is willing to dedicate and commit themselves to a holistic, complete program. And what's important for them is for you to be able to say, yeah, I've seen it happen. It can be done. You can do it. And so I just wanted to kind of point out my life that as an example of this is something along the order, maybe a little thing, of what can be done when you apply the laws of manifestation. All right, like I said, some of this is based on David Spangler, who wrote the book, The Laws of Manifestation. He was one of the original founders of Findhorn. Findhorn is a wonderful community in northern Scotland. And anybody who's been in northern Scotland or who studies it knows that it is a pretty cold, arid place. You're not all that far from the Arctic Circle. There are lots of sand, lots of winds, lots of ice and cold. Not a lot is able to grow there as far as gardens and things. Well, it happened. The Findhorn Garden started from one tiny little family, and now there are hundreds of people that live there. And this is one of the most beautiful examples of manifestation in action. I'll be showing you some pictures of them. They basically was Peter and Elaine Caddy and Dorothy McLean, and then Peter and Elaine's children. It all started when just before all of them, they had been managers at a massive hotel there in Scotland. It was a 3-star hotel that during their 5-year tenure with the hotel, they raised it to a 4-star. They lived in the lap of luxury. They had 5-course meals every day. They loved their jobs, but they knew that even while they were doing that, they would have their own little group meetings every night, the 3 of them, and sometimes the children. And they literally studied manifestation. They studied meditation. They studied communication with God, with the nature spirits, and so forth. And so they spent their time, while they were doing really well financially, they spent the time studying manifestation. Well, sure enough, after about 5 years of running the hotel said, well, thank you for getting us to the 4-star level. Goodbye, and thank you. You're gone. And they fired them all, let them all go. So all of a sudden, you went from living in the lap of luxury to, as you can see here, they were in a tiny little RV. All of them, the 3 adults and the children, were all in one little RV. They pulled the RV up to a little area called Findhorn, and it was this little area on the beach, not like California. It was very cold and rainy and wet pretty much all year long. And it was a little RV park, and they pulled up in there. And so here they are, going from lap of luxury and massive hotel managing to all of them are crammed inside of a little tiny RV. All right. They didn't lose hope. They immediately began to apply the laws of manifestation. And one of the first things that they were guided to do through their meditations was plant a garden. Really? A garden in sand that has never been known to their knowledge to grow anything but scrub grass and a little bit of heather. That was about it. It didn't grow very much at all. Almost nothing could grow there, they thought. But they were told in their meditations, plant a garden. So they got permission from the RV park owner, and they took this little tiny slot here, and they started planting. Well, the ground was pretty much lifeless. They needed manure. They needed all these other things. All of a sudden they were told, hey, if you'll come to our farm, which is nearby because there were horse farms and pig farms and such, you can have all the manure they want. And so it just happened. So they went and they got it. Then they needed other things that would literally, they would need something for the garden, and out of the blue, a truck would go by and something would fall on the ground, and that person was gone and they couldn't get it back to them, but it was the exact thing that they needed for the garden. Well, the garden kept growing and growing and growing and growing and growing until finally they were growing things that had never been seen before up there. They actually show pictures in the book called the Findhorn Garden, to where they're actually showing roses blooming in the snow. These are real pictures. You can go online and look at the Findhorn Garden to this day. Okay, so now it's grown to where it's hundreds of people there. Well, another issue of manifestation. Okay, something happened with them. The time that we're on there, because they had all been fired, they were on basically unemployment. And so they were getting unemployment. And every week, Peter would have to go out there and go look for a job. And it was well recorded. Peter was not living off the dole. He was not being lazy. The jobs confirmed he was there trying to get jobs. And week after week, month after month, it went on because up there they let you be on there for a couple of years. It went on for a couple of years. He could not get it no matter what he did. He said he would get this close to being approved, and something would happen, and he would lose the opportunity for the job. And this went on and on and on until finally one day he was in the unemployment office, and the person sitting across from him was going, you know, this is an interesting record, interesting history. You know, we can see that you've been trying to get jobs and you keep losing your jobs. You keep losing the opportunity. You don't even get accepted by the job. Just something always seems to happen. And Peter said, that's right. And so the guy was looking at Peter across the desk and said, would you get the feeling that God is keeping you from getting a job? And Peter said, yes, that's exactly right. Because Peter knew that he was going to honestly, because the meditations readings told him, you have to honestly try to get a job. Keep going. Okay, it's your job to be honest about this and keep doing it. But your job in the garden is going to be of very large importance to the world one day. So Peter looked at the guy and said, yes, I do believe that God is keeping me from getting a job. And so the unemployment guy said, well, then good. Then God can take care of you. You're off. You're done. And he lost unemployment. Peter went back home, told them everything, and they were like, it's okay. It will work out. Well, prior to this, they had been writing little books and little booklets and things, you know, because they had grown enough to where the world was just starting to take notice, at least in the Great Britain area. People were like, what the heck's going on up in Findhorn? Why is there a garden growing up there when it cannot possibly grow up there, they thought. And so people were beginning to look. And so the 3 of them were starting to write little books and getting just these little books published and put out there. As soon as unemployment cut them off, the books started paying. Money started coming in every month, literally just one door, you know, the cliche, one door closes, another opens. As soon as they were off the unemployment, their books started to pay. And so then that went on, and it just exploded, kind of like with my life. one event leads to another, and eventually it just exploded. And to this day, now hundreds of people live there. It is known throughout the world. You can go there for eco vacations. You can go there to working holidays where you can go and actually be a part of the garden and work in it. The original founders were all gone. They've all passed on. But the garden itself still exists to this day, and it is an amazing example of manifestation, very much on an elven level, because they do believe in the nature spirits. And one of the biggest things about Findhorn Garden is cooperation with the nature kingdoms, with the devas, the elementals, and so forth. The nature spirits, it's a huge part of Findhorn. You could hardly find a better elven community in this world that shows how great success. Okay, so that was the Findhorn Garden. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to talk about the 4 levels of manifestation. What are they? What did they practice? What did David Spangler talk about? And how can we apply those as elves in today's world? All right, well, as you can see, we're talking about the 4 levels. It's physical, emotional, mental, and the soul or the spirit. I like the soul better because of a deeper meaning here. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So what does that mean? Okay, so let's start with number 1, the physical level of manifestation. It's the first level, and it is the brute force, basically using your body and its resources. In other words, the old cliche, go get a job. All right, here's a little picture of the elves doing the ring making. All right, that was the first level of manifestation. I'm physically making something. I'm using my body in a physical environment. You can compare, you can say carpenters or doctors or plumbers or code writers, software engineers, anybody that's holding down a job and earning money is doing at least the first level of manifestation. You are doing something physical in order to manifest something else in your life. And in this case, the most common manifestation is money. I'm working for money. I'm working 40 hours a week for money. That's the first level of manifestation. It's the one most people don't like, but it's where, as babies, we all start learning that's at least, and we literally grow and we learn and we work our way up through these levels of manifestation. So there's the one we're all familiar with. Go get a job. That's the first level of manifestation. Okay, so let's go on to the second level of manifestation, and this is emotional. A very good example of that is prayer. It's where now we're at the level of using our emotions, where faith healing is a great example of it. Prayer, when we're praying to whatever it is that we believe in, to please have something manifest into our lives. My friend is sick, so I pray that my friend will heal. And of course, you're doing that on an emotional level because you love them. All right, so again, the first level and second level of manifestations are pretty much well known to about everybody on earth. We're either working hard to produce a manifestation such as money, or we're using our emotions, faith healing, praying, whatever it is to bring, we're appealing to something else on an emotional level to bring that manifestation into our lives. All right, we can even do that with other people or bosses, but it's something that's done on the emotional level. All right, let's get something to a little more complicated now, and this is where it starts to get fun. It starts to get really interesting. Okay, and that's when we get to the third level of manifestation. I'm going over these rather quickly because we only have so much time, but please consider, if you really want to get into this deep, look at the Findhorn Garden. I'll try to put a link on it. Look at the Laws of Manifestation by David Spangler. Pretty deep stuff, but if you really want to learn about these, you can. I'm just trying to touch on them now to give you some idea of where you can go, that nothing is impossible if you put your mind to it. And speaking of mind, let's talk about the mental level. All right, this is where you start using your will in conjunction with your imagination, and mental can apply at all 3 levels. It can be use your will with the imagination, with the emotional passion, and a physicalness too. So the third level of manifestation can include them all. Okay, but one of the two most important things about the mental level is will combined with imagination. And I guess I would say one more thing is intent. You decide what you want. Your imagination says it can happen, and the will can be. Now, will doesn't translate in this case into strain. I'm trying really hard. That's not what it means. It means the willpower to stay with the faith that I know this can happen. I know without a doubt that what I desire, I can manifest. For example, in the Laws of Manifestation by David Spangler, he goes on a couple of interesting notes here. He said, will is generated through the relaxed yet single-pointed use of the imagination to form an image and to summon all of the forces of consciousness to flow into and through that image for a certain period of time. So will is allowing you to focus. Not that you're using your willpower for brute force, but will means it allows me to stay focused on that image, whatever that image may be. I want a BMW, so I'm going to focus on that image that I want this to happen. I want a new boat, or I want a better job, and I'm going to, invoke that image and focus with my will on that image using my imagination. It also goes on to say that will is a force, but it is a force created through concentration, not through pressure or strain. So we're not trying to force something. We're trying to use the force, or I should say the focus of our mind. We're focusing on that one issue. All right, and it goes on one more thing. It says the true willpower that lies behind effective manifestation is based on knowing absolutely that a certain manifestation will take place. In this, it is a lot like true faith. Right? This gives a sense of serenity and peace, of a non-reactive inner stillness, which can therefore be a source of great power, for no dissipation is taking place. The flow of power can then be concentrated through the vehicle of the mind, emotion, and body. So what that's really telling you is that you are so confident, your will is so strong, that this will happen. It will manifest. That you actually gain a certain amount of serenity and peace, because instead of driving your life through fear, you're driving your life through love, knowing that it will happen. And I can be calm and focus. As long as I stay focused on the task, focused on the image of what I'd like to see manifested, it will happen. So that it's important to know that it is not a strain. I'm not trying ultra hard to make something happen. I just know it will, and I stay focused on that. Okay, a good example within an Elven perspective would be, I'm going to go ahead and take a short little tiny break here. I'm going to show you an example of the third level of manifestation from the Lord of the Rings point of view. One of the best examples I ever saw of that was Galadriel when she was fighting Sauron. So I'm going to take a little break there and let you see that, and then we're going to come right back, and then we're going to keep right on going with the rest of the video. All right, so real quickly, let's watch the video.
You have no power here, servant of Morgoth. You are nameless. Formless. Go back to the void from whence you came.
Okay, so as you can see from that video, that was some pretty powerful stuff. She incorporated all three levels: the mind, the body, the emotions, and the body. Everything was combined into one, right? And it was an invocation. She brought the forest down through herself, and she was like, you are not going to take Gandalf. And she put in the passion, which was the emotions, the will, which was, I know this is going to happen, and her body, of course, because she was basically then sending everything out. So probably one of the best examples, at least within Lord of the Rings, is Galadriel showing this. So to recap on the third level, it's will, meaning the ability to focus on an image which is imagination. All right. And the intent, meaning this is what I want. This is what I want to do. I want this to happen in my life. I want to bring it down to me. That's an important point to notice. I am bringing it down. Okay, this is an invocation. I want to bring it to me. All right. Okay, so that's the third level of manifestation. It is one of the basic ones I learned in order to bring things about before I actually learned more about the fourth level. I thought it was awesome, you know, thaumaturgy. I thought it was amazing that I could envision something and it would happen, that it could be manifested in my life. It might not appear right then, but within a period of days or weeks, it would appear in my life. And that was an amazing sense of power. Okay, but that is an easy one to misuse. It's important to learn it, okay, but it's an easy one to misuse. And I learned that was an even better, in my case, example was to go on to the fourth level. I think it's important that we know how to use each one of these, but I think in the end that once you master the fourth level of manifestation, the others their importance diminishes rapidly. All right, so let's talk about the fourth level of manifestation. Okay, and that is the soul. Some say the spirit, some say the soul. Okay, what it means is instead of bringing things down to you, you know, manifesting it to you, the fourth level of manifestation says that I will be the evoker. I am nothing more than a channel. I am a conduit. And if you can accomplish that, if you can accomplish that level, then truly anything is possible. And the biggest thing is that it will be because it was in balance. A good example of what some more and more people are learning today about the fourth level of manifestation is Reiki. In Japanese is actually pronounced Reiki, but I'll use Reiki because that's what most people are used to. Probably a lot of you out there are used to Reiki healing. It's an energy healing. I am a Reiki master, and I have found it to be extremely effective, even in what I do with people who need healing. It's actually quite remarkable what it does. If anybody looked at the little thing that I had with the bird yesterday, where the bird was healing in my hands, that was actually a form of Reiki. And why is Reiki such a fourth level of manifestation example? Because one of the things you learn in Reiki is you do not direct the power. You learn two big things. One, that you are not the healer. You are nothing more than a conduit for the Reiki, the divine energy to travel through. And two, you don't direct it. You're a conduit. You know, and again, this comes from the will that still plays a part, even number 4. You know that with all confidence and through will and focus, that the energy will flow through you and will go where it needs. And you go with full intent and confidence and faith that I open myself up to be a conduit, and that it will go where it needs to go. I don't have to know what's wrong with you. I don't have to, like in the third level, focus on the part that's damaged. I know that as an evoker, that as a conduit, it will go through me and it will go where it needs to go. And that's the fourth level of manifestation, is when you truly learn that while there is a God, it's time for you to start thinking as God, to allow it to flow through you and let it happen, let it be. Another great example of that, we're going to take a quickie break, and this was a beautiful one where Arwen was healing Frodo at the stream, and she did nothing more than allowed herself to be a conduit and let it flow and heal him. Okay, so let's take a quick break. I'm going to watch that video and be right back.
No! Frodo, don't give in! Not now! What grace is given me, let it pass to him.
Pretty heavy-duty stuff, and I have actually seen that type of healing done before, and that is a wonderful example of fourth level of manifestation. You're a conduit, you allow it to flow through you, and you let it go where it needs to go. And one of the most important things you can learn about the fourth level of manifestation and why it's so wonderful and so much more powerful than all the others, because the fourth level of manifestation cannot occur unless there is balance, or it will not occur properly if there is no balance. You must have balance in your life, or it's not going to happen, or it's not going to be where it's supposed to be. Example, again, let's go back to David Spangler. David's talking about it, and he said the need and interest of the soul consciousness is not how to draw things to itself from the environment like you do with level 3, but how to draw it out from itself, the qualities and energies from which a greater environment, a world healing, can emerge. The process of manifestation becomes one of externalization and realization. It is one of giving of yourself, not of receiving or taking, but of revealing and releasing. In other words, what the fourth level of manifestation is it reveals those things that need to be in your life. Whether you know about it or not, it will happen, and it does. One more thing that David went on to say, we have already discussed that will energy lies at the core of creation and manifestation. The will, the ability to focus on something, the core of manifesting. Okay, it is the emanation from being itself. It is its nature can be suggested in the statement, as a man is, so does he create the world. How powerful is that? As a man is, so is the world that he creates. If you're dark, you will create a dark world. If you are light, you will create a light world. And the brighter you are, the brighter the light will be. It's important that you... Here's going to be a word example, and I don't mean for anybody to do this, but it is a prime example of what your attitude can manifest. I don't know how many of you out there have ever tried mushrooms before, and I'm not advocating it, but it is a great example of where the psyche lies in what you manifest. There are people who try mushrooms, which is kind of like it's a natural version of LSD. And there are people who will try mushrooms and they say it was the worst trip they've ever had. It was dark and nightmarish. And then there's other people that try mushrooms and go, it was one of the most wonderful experiences. I was happy and laughing and cheerful. And most people that understand anything about mushrooms know that whatever is your mental attitude, especially at the time that you took them, that is what will manifest. And it's the same way within life, all of life itself. As you are is what you will create. You will create what is inside of you. And so the most important things you can do is to realize that find the lightness, find the light in your life, find joy. One thing that I notice with a lot of patients that we've treated, and I've been treating patients for over 20 years, one of the things that's missing, one of the most important things that's missing, is gratitude, thankfulness. Again, as I've mentioned in other videos, so many people look at life as you're born, you live, you die. They don't understand the sacredness, the gift that this life is, that we have an opportunity to reawaken ourselves, to remember who we truly are, and to then shine that out into the world and help the world heal. As you are, so will you create the world. When you remember who you are, when you reawaken that light, you then shine that light out, and what you create becomes light also. So unfortunately, most people live in fear. So the fourth level of manifestation teaches you, let go of that fear. Know that you don't have to do anything more than to learn to be a conduit and let it shine forth from you and let it go where it needs to go. And what you need will be manifested. Okay, let's kind of wax a little religious here for a moment. Okay, we're going to go to the Sermon on the Mount, a beautiful, wonderful example of the fourth level of manifestation. Jesus was there and he was teaching his disciples, and there were quite a number of people up there at the time. And it was very simple what he stated. He said, therefore I say unto you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on it, nor is life not more than the food, and the body more than clothing? All right. Look at the birds of the air, for they neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than them? Well, I tend to feel we're all of equal value, but they don't appear to work, and yet the universe takes care of them. What they need can happen until man comes in and starts creating an imbalance in the world, in nature. He goes on to say, which of you by worrying can add 1 cubit to his stature? In other words, is worrying going to help you at all? All it will do is tear you down and produce a dark soul, which then creates darkness. Okay, so why do you worry about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin, and yet I say to you that even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed as one of these. In all of Solomon's riches, he still didn't look as beautiful as a single lily of the field, not one. Now, if God so clothes the grass of the field, which today is and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? Okay, therefore do not worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For after all these things the Gentiles seek, and it goes on and on with that. Okay, I know that it's hard for some to understand that it seems easy for me to say, you know, the old cliche, don't worry, be happy. And you go, yeah, but I've got a lot of things going on in my life. I understand. I was there. I was there to where there were many things going on. And I was willing to step out of the forest and learn. In the process, it's not like it was all roses when I stepped out of the forest and immediately got a job and got a home. There were many challenges along the way. And each step of the way, I had to pause. Each challenge that came along, each appearing to be an obstacle, which is really just a challenge, each time I had to stop and go, all right, this is an opportunity. In the end, I know it will work out okay. And many of you know that the Elven word that most appropriately epitomizes that is Estelle. Okay, the true word for hope, trust, faith. But in Eru, in God, that we know without a doubt, everything will work out in the end, in the long run. It will work out. And we don't have to worry. And don't kick yourself if you're constantly still saying, oh, I'm trying not to worry. Okay, I had to go through it. I understand those feelings and understand that pretty much about everything we do is done in baby steps. Don't deride yourself when you fall, because like the old saying goes, I never fail. I either win or I learn, but I don't fail. I go on and I will continue to practice and practice and practice until I get it right. And then you can look back like I have and say, there have been some amazing miracles. There have been times when we needed money for a resource and we believed it would happen and let it channel through us and act as conduits. And it appeared. It has happened so many times in my life. I now know there is no doubt that things will work out in the long run. And it just takes time and it takes practice. All right, so the last thing I wanted to talk about that was the 4th level of manifestation. When you act as a conduit. 3rd level is wonderful. I still can do it to this day, to where we invoke and we bring something to us. But the most precious, the most balanced is through the 4th level, when I go, I'm going to let it happen. I'm going to let come into my life what needs to come in and let it flow through me like Reiki energy does. And the reason that happens is because the 4th level is all about balance. Is about balance between you and the universe. One thing that I really love about this is, let me see, I don't think I've shown this one yet, have I? This video. Okay, there's a video of Gandalf. All right, and it's in The Hobbit, and they're going along, and they're getting hit with all this rain, and I love the way Bilbo looks because he's disgusted, and they look at him, and they ask for Gandalf to stop the rain. So, here, real quick. Take a look at that.
Here, Mr. Gandalf, Can't you do something about this deluge?
It is raining, Master Dwarf, and it will continue to rain until the rain is done.
Okay, so Gandalf said it will rain until it's done raining. Okay, and that's where balance comes in. You can become powerful enough to where you can make huge changes in the world. But is it the right thing to do? All right. Okay, I live in Northern California. We have gone through, it's much better now, but we went through a huge drought, historical actually, of hundreds of years where we had not had this drought for it lasted for 4 years. And it was horrendous for the state of California. I know a lot of you probably saw it on the news. Okay, we're now out of it, but it was devastating. Millions upon millions of trees died throughout California. All right, and it was a very sad thing to see. Could you, through the third level of manifestation, is it possible that you could have pulled rain in and said, bring the rain? And if you're strong enough in the third level of manifestation, you can make it rain. But is that the right thing to do? There's only so much water in the world. There's only so much wind. There's only so much this and this. There is a set number of physical resources. So if I make it rain here, it means I made it not rain somewhere else. And I don't have the wisdom to know where it should rain and where it shouldn't rain. What I can do though, and it's what we did during the Great Drought, was we manifested through the fourth level of manifestation for our land here where we're at, so that we could at least take care of our corner of the world. And during those 4 years, not a tree up here died. The animals came here and were able to live. Of all the wells in this part of the Northern California, Shasta County, they kept going dry, Our well never went dry. It never stopped with the amount of pressure. It was beautiful, clean throughout the 4 years. We grew a massive garden during that time where other people were running out of water. And we shared our water during that time with our neighbors. We had water to where we were able to share so that we could at least work with our end, but allowing it through the fourth level manifestation going, what will be, we'll let it conduit through us so that what happens is in balance. And it did. And eventually the drought ended and people's wells started filling back up again. But during that time, our well never went dry, our trees didn't die, and we were able to help heal the land, at least in our area, within balance. All right, so always remember that even at the third level, at all levels, balance is the most important thing. We don't have the wisdom necessarily to know how things should be done that I can take from here to here. One big example is wishes. Okay, it is very possible. I have seen it happen in my life that what you wish for, be careful what you wish for, because it might just get granted, and it's how it gets granted. I wished for something many years ago and it was granted, and the way it was granted was extremely difficult for me, and it was heartbreaking. Okay, you can wish for $1 million and you can get $1 million. And maybe because your beloved died tragically and in the will left you $1 million. Okay, you manifested it. But was it healthy? Was it right? Was it what you needed versus what you want? It's all in balance. So remember that if you truly want to do things in balance, it's from a soul level. And this is important. It goes, he who would be the greatest of all must, and this is from the Silver Elves, and from others. He who would be the greatest of all must be the servant to all. In order for you to be great, you have to be a servant. Okay. And goes on, man was never given dominion over the earth to express it in a one-sided and isolated state of consciousness. We gave dominion, but in that case, dominion translates into stewardship, that we are taking care of the world, working with Eru and with the Valar and the Maiar to do that. Okay, man's dominion arises from the fact that his elven soul is an interweaving of many patterns belonging to other kingdoms of evolution in a new synthesis of vision and expression. We are an amazing creation. We are a combination of so many kingdoms, the Davic kingdom, the nature spirit kingdom. We're all these kingdoms in one soul, in one spirit. And as the old saying goes, with great gifts comes great responsibility. Okay. And the last one is, we have not only to cooperate with the nature kingdom, but we have to allow them to become one with us. Through this marriage, we are more truly human, or elven. All right, so work, like Gandalf said, it's going to rain till it's going to rain. Do you have the knowledge? Do you have the wisdom to know to alter things that maybe you shouldn't be? All right, because it's your desire, because it's your wish, doesn't make it right. Make sure that you become in balance so that everything that you manifest is in balance. All you need is already within you. Only you must approach yourself with reverence and love. Reverence and love. Reverence means respect for life, respect for Eru, respect for that which created you, respect for the divinity that is within you. You shine, the rest of the world will shine in time, that what you create will shine. And the most important aspect of manifestation is love. Love sets our energy free. It opens us and puts us in a flow with spirit and life on many levels. Love is the true secret of manifestation. Okay. Love is the true secret behind manifestation. And I don't mean, mushy love and cuddly love. I mean love from the spirit. So this video was to basically introduce you to the laws of manifestation, the different levels of them, and to let you know that any one of these are possible. And I have personally experienced manifestation on every single one of these levels. I try to my best now to only manifest mainly on one level, and that's on the soul level, on the level 4 of manifestation. I mean, it doesn't mean I still don't go out and work, because that's all part of it, and that's actually how the soul eventually can manifest things. It might mean me out there, for example, in treating patients and such. But I work now within the vein of what Jesus taught. Don't ask God for anything. Don't ask Eru for anything. Eru already knows what you need. But what you can do every day, which is so missing from this world, is to give thanks. Give your thanks to the Valar and the Maiar. Give thanks to those around you who are part of your life. Give thanks to Eru. And know that each day that you are a conduit, that the universe will manifest through you, and it will manifest in balance, and what you need will happen. You don't have to ask for it. The universe already knows that. Are you willing to let it manifest through you in balance? That's one of the most important things. And again, we love instant gratification, so many of us. All things come in time. If you have the belief, it will happen. So here's a quickie little example. I love this, and then we'll be about done. Okay, here's Gandalf again.
You're late.
A wizard is never late, Frodo Baggins. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.
It's true. Don't push him, don't ask him, but it's the same for all of us. Everything will happen in its proper time. If you have Estelle, if you have faith and trust, let yourself be a conduit. All right. One of the best things you might do here is study Reiki, even if you don't ever plan on being a Reiki master or a Reiki healer. Just the very study of Reiki tells you so much about letting the flow go where it needs to go. All right, so last thing I wanted to talk about, and we'll finish up here, as I always like to at the end of my videos, you guys know, is to give a little quote from the Silver Elves. I love their passion and the simplicity of their elven culture. It's something that anyone can accomplish in their lives. Please look at the link that I have in the description. Please consider looking at their books. I get nothing out of this. I don't get any money from their books. I buy them myself. They're wonderful affirmations for every day about how to live the elven culture. I love it. Well, here they stated, when we first awaken to our elven nature, many folks think we have lost our minds, when in fact, we've just found them. All right, so that's pretty much it for today. Please do not hesitate to give me any comments or suggestions. I'm quite open to them. Any who have not signed up for the newsletter and would like to, the newsletter is coming out in about a week. This will be the second issue coming out. If you want to, you can go to my Facebook page, The Gentle Musings of an Elven Scholar. Go to the left-hand side and you'll see where it says newsletter sign up. Go ahead and click on that. You'll sign up with the newsletter. And like I said, the next issue is coming out in about a week. And it will actually have, amongst many other things in it, it will have the article on the candle, on how to make Elven candles, the full article on it. It will be in that issue. All right, one other thing I'm going to kind of spill the beans on real quick. Please feel free to give me your thoughts. One of the most important things I can do in life is to be a teacher. All right, when I teach, I also learn. It has come to me that it is coming close to time, and so I plan on doing it early next year. I would like to open up the Elven Academy for Higher Learning. It will be an online school for you to go on and you can study. It is an actual educational institute that we'll be doing online. And again, the Elven Academy for Higher Learning. You will learn through when you take tests and studies, but you'll learn to be an Elven herbalist, where you'll get a certification as both a regular herbalist, but also as an Elven herbalist. You'll learn where you can take courses to become a nutritionist, an Elven nutritionist. These are things that you can actually carry forth and go out and make work jobs in. There'll be language studies. There'll be historical studies. It'll be a little college, but it'll be online for Elven studies. If this is of interest to all of you, please let me know. My heart was moved to go ahead and do it. And so if you're interested, please let me know. If you have ideas for things you'd like to see in it, I will be posting soon what the curriculum will be, and I will make sure that you have an input into this. And these supply real educational certifications, for example, an herbalist and a nutritionist, and other courses where you can literally go out and get jobs if that's what you choose to do. All right, and get work in it, or to go out and go start helping others. All right, so please let me know what you think. I would be very interested in your feelings and opinions. All right, so until next week, it was a pleasure meeting with all of you again today, and all of you have a most blessed rest of your day. Namaste.